Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how some people always say, nothing good ever happens to me, and somehow nothing good ever does? And then there are others, same problems, same world, but life seems to open doors for them. Why? Because life doesn't listen to your wishes, life listens to your thoughts and your words. What you think repeatedly, what you speak casually, and what you believe deeply, that becomes your reality. Today, we're going to talk about one simple but powerful truth. You attract what you think and what you speak. Change your thinking, clean your language, and you'll be shocked at how your life begins to respond. Close your eyes for a moment and think about the last thought you had this morning. Was it peaceful or was it heavy? Because that one thought already set the direction of your entire day. You see, the mind is not just a place where thoughts come and go. The mind is like a magnet. It attracts experiences that match its dominant frequency. Whatever you think about repeatedly, whatever you emotionally attach yourself to, slowly starts finding its way into your life. Not by magic, but by alignment. When you wake up every day thinking, my life is difficult, your mind starts scanning the world only for difficulties. Opportunities can stand right in front of you, but your mind won't see them because it is busy proving itself right. The mind always wants evidence to support the story you are telling yourself. If you keep thinking, people can't be trusted, you will start noticing only betrayals. You will ignore loyalty. You will overlook kindness. And soon, you'll say, see, I was right. Not because the world is full of bad people, but because your mind filtered out everything good. The mind works like a powerful search engine. Type negativity, and it will show you negative results. Type hope, and it will begin to reveal possibilities you never noticed before. Life doesn't change first. Your perception changes first, and then life follows. Most people believe their thoughts are a reaction to life. But in reality, life is often a reaction to their thoughts. What you expect, you prepare for. What you fear, you unconsciously invite. If you constantly think failure is waiting for you, your actions will become cautious, fearful, and half-hearted. And then when failure comes, you say, I knew it. But you don't realize you trained your mind to walk in that direction. Your mind also controls your energy. When your thoughts are negative, your energy becomes heavy. Your body feels tired. Your face loses its glow. Your voice loses confidence. People around you feel it, even if you say nothing. And when your energy is low, the world responds with resistance. On the other hand, when your thoughts are positive, not imaginary positive, but grounded, hopeful positive, your energy shifts. You walk differently. You speak differently. You listen better. You respond instead of reacting. And suddenly, people start supporting you. Doors begin to open. Not because the world changed overnight, but because you changed first. Let me say something very important here. Positive thinking does not mean denying reality. It does not mean pretending problems don't exist. It means choosing to believe that problems are temporary and solvable. It means telling your mind, this situation is tough, but I am tougher. When you think like that, your mind starts looking for solutions instead of excuses. It becomes creative instead of fearful. And creativity attracts progress. Have you noticed how two people can face the same problem, but get completely different outcomes? One collapses, the other grows. The difference is not luck. The difference is the internal conversation they are having with themselves. One mind says, why does this always happen to me? The other says, what is this trying to teach me? One attracts frustration, the other attracts wisdom. Your mind is listening to you all the time. It doesn't argue, it doesn't judge. It simply accepts whatever you repeat most often as truth. If you repeatedly tell your mind that you are weak, unlucky, or not good enough, it will start behaving like that's a fact. But if you slowly, patiently start telling it that you are learning, improving, and capable, it will begin to support you in that direction. This is why your thoughts are so powerful. They are not harmless, they are instructions. Think of your mind like a magnet placed in the middle of your life. What you feed it determines what it pulls toward you. Feed it fear, and it attracts situations that confirm fear. Feed it courage, and it attracts opportunities that demand courage. And the most dangerous thing is not negative situations. The most dangerous thing is an unchecked negative mind, because situations come and go, but a negative mind stays and keeps recreating the same pain in different forms. So if you want to change your life, don't fight the world first. Don't blame people first. Start by observing your thoughts. Notice what you think when things go wrong. Notice the words you repeat silently. That is where change begins. The moment you change the quality of your thoughts, you change the direction of your life, because the mind is a magnet, and it will always attract what you hold on to the longest. Most people believe words are just sounds, something we say and forget, something that disappears into the air. But words don't disappear, they settle. They sink deep, first into your mind, then into your behavior, and eventually into your life. Words are not harmless. Words are powerful forces that shape the direction of your reality. Every word you speak carries energy. Whether you say it loudly to others or silently to yourself, your mind hears it clearly. And your mind doesn't understand jokes, sarcasm, or casual negativity. It takes your words seriously. It treats them as instructions. When you repeatedly say, "I'm tired of life," your mind doesn't know you're exaggerating. It simply registers exhaustion. When you say, "I'm not good at this," your mind records limitation, and slowly, quietly, it begins to act in alignment with those words. That's why careless language creates careless lives. Notice how easily negative words slip out of our mouths. "I can't," "This is impossible," "I'm unlucky," "Nothing works for me." We say these things without thinking, but every repetition strengthens that belief. It's like digging the same mental path again and again. Eventually, it becomes the only road your mind knows how to walk on. Words also shape your emotional state. Say something angry, and your body feels it. Your heartbeat changes. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your muscles tighten. Even if the situation was small, your words made it bigger inside you. That emotional shift then affects your decisions, your reactions, and your relationships. Now think about what happens when you repeatedly speak frustration. You don't just feel frustrated, you start attracting situations that justify that frustration. You become impatient with people. You misinterpret intentions. You create conflict where silence or understanding could have solved things. Words don't just describe reality, they create the lens through which you see reality. The way you speak to others matters, but the way you speak to yourself matters even more. Because that voice never stops. It speaks when you wake up, it speaks when you fail, it speaks when you succeed. And over time, that voice becomes your identity. If your inner language is harsh, critical, and discouraging, you may achieve things, but you'll never feel fulfilled. You'll always feel not enough. On the other hand, if your inner language is kind, honest, and encouraging, even difficulties feel manageable. Let me make this very clear. Positive speech does not mean lying to yourself. It does not mean ignoring pain or pretending everything is perfect. It means choosing words that empower rather than weaken you. There is a huge difference between saying, I failed, and saying, I'm learning. A huge difference between saying, I'm broken, and saying, I'm healing. The situation may be the same, but the outcome will not be. Your subconscious mind responds to repetition. Whatever words you repeat most often, it accepts as truth. And once something is accepted as truth internally, your behavior starts aligning with it automatically. You don't need motivation. You don't need pressure. You simply act in harmony with what you believe. That's why people who constantly speak doubt sabotage themselves without realizing it. They don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because their words weaken their confidence before effort even begins. Words also affect how others treat you. When you speak with confidence, clarity, and calm, people respond differently. They trust you more. They respect you more. Not because you are superior, but because your words signal self-belief. And the world mirrors that belief back to you. But when your language is filled with self-pity, complaint, and negativity, people may sympathize, but they won't rely on you. Because words reveal mindset, and mindset reveals capability. Even in difficult situations, the words you choose decide whether you become a victim or a learner. Two people can face the same loss. One keeps saying, my life is over. The other says, this hurts, but I will rebuild. One remains stuck. The other slowly moves forward. The pain may not be a choice, but the words you use to process that pain are a choice. And here's the most important part: life listens. Not emotionally, not personally, but energetically. Whatever language you constantly use becomes the tone of your life. Speak chaos and you live in chaos. Speak calm and you slowly create calm. So be careful with your words, especially the small ones, especially the ones you say casually, especially the ones you say about yourself. Because words are seeds. Some grow into confidence, some grow into fear, some grow into peace, some grow into suffering, and life will eventually hand you the harvest, exactly matching what you planted. Choose your words wisely. They are shaping you. Even when you're not aware, most people think destiny is something fixed, something written somewhere, something they have no control over. But destiny is not created in one dramatic moment. Destiny is built quietly, daily, through small, repeated choices that begin with a single thought. Every habit you have today was once just a thought. No one wakes up one day with a habit. It starts subtly. A thought appears in the mind. You entertain it, you repeat it. Slowly, it becomes familiar, and what is familiar starts feeling comfortable. That comfort turns into routine. And routine, over time, becomes habit. Think about it carefully. If a person repeatedly thinks, I don't need discipline, that thought turns into casual behavior. Casual behavior turns into laziness. Laziness turns into missed opportunities. And years later, that person calls it bad luck. But it wasn't luck. It was a thought repeated long enough to shape a habit. The mind loves repetition. Whatever you repeat, the mind strengthens. Whatever you strengthen, you practice unconsciously. That is how habits are born, without effort, without awareness. And habits are powerful because once they are formed, they don't ask for permission. They operate automatically. You don't wake up and decide to brush your teeth, you just do it. In the same way, negative habits operate without your conscious involvement. You don't decide to overthink, you just do it. You don't decide to doubt yourself, you just do it. And that's where people lose control of their lives. Not because they lack intelligence, but because their habits are running the show. Now here's the scary part. Habits don't stay small, they grow, they multiply, and eventually they shape your lifestyle. Your lifestyle determines your results, and your results become your destiny. A person who repeatedly thinks negatively develops habits of complaining, avoiding responsibility, and expecting the worst. Over time, their life becomes exactly that, full of problems, disappointment, and blame, not because the world is unfair, but because their habits train them to live that way. On the other hand, a person who repeatedly thinks positively, realistically positive, not imaginary, develops habits of effort, patience, and learning. They may fail, they may struggle, but their habits keep pulling them forward. And slowly their life moves in a different direction. Destiny is not decided by what you want occasionally. Destiny is decided by what you do consistently. And consistency always starts in the mind. This is why monitoring your thoughts is so important. A thought ignored can become a habit unnoticed. And once a habit becomes part of your identity, changing it feels painful. People say, "This is just how I am." But that's not who they are, it's what they practiced unconsciously. Let me tell you something very practical. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your habits. When life becomes difficult, motivation disappears, discipline disappears, only habits remain. If your habit is to give up, you'll give up. If your habit is to complain, you'll complain. If your habit is to stay calm and try again, you'll do that. That's why small habits matter more than big decisions. Most people wait for a big change, a new year, a new job, a new relationship. But destiny doesn't change with events. Destiny changes when habits change. And habits change only when thoughts change. If you keep thinking, "I'll start when I feel ready," you're creating a habit of delay. If you keep thinking, "I'm not good enough," you're creating a habit of self-sabotage. And those habits silently decide where you'll be 5 or 10 years from now. And here's the most hopeful part of all this. If habits can be created unconsciously, they can also be rebuilt consciously. The same process that created limitation can create growth. Replace one thought, repeat it daily, practice it patiently. Slowly, a new habit forms. And when habits change, destiny has no option but to follow. You don't need to change your whole life at once. That's overwhelming. You just need to change what you repeatedly do. And what you repeatedly do depends on what you repeatedly think. So start small, catch one negative thought, replace it with a better one. Not a fake one, a better one. Instead of "I can't," say "I'll try." Instead of "This is too hard," say "This will make me stronger." Those small changes feel insignificant today, but give them time, give them repetition. And one day, you look back and realize you didn't change overnight, you changed gradually. And that gradual change rewrote your destiny. Because destiny is not luck, destiny is habit, and habit always begins with a thought. Most people think complaining is harmless, a way to release stress, a way to express feelings, a way to feel lighter. But complaining doesn't lighten your burden, it increases it. Complaining doesn't remove problems, it invites more of them. The moment complaining becomes a habit, life responds by giving you exactly what you keep talking about. When you complain, you are telling your mind, "Focus on what's wrong," and your mind obeys. It starts scanning your life for problems. Small inconveniences feel bigger. Minor delays feel unbearable. Even blessings begin to feel insufficient. The more you complain, the more your mind becomes trained to notice negativity. And here's the truth most people don't realize. The mind doesn't know the difference between sharing pain and rehearsing pain. Every time you repeat a complaint, you are reliving the problem emotionally. Your body feels it again. Your stress hormones rise again. Your peace disappears again. Even if the situation hasn't changed, your suffering has multiplied. Complaining also weakens your ability to solve problems. When you focus on what's wrong, you stop looking for what can be done. Your energy shifts from action to frustration, from responsibility to blame, and once blame becomes your comfort zone, growth becomes uncomfortable. Have you noticed how complaining makes conversations heavy? People may listen at first, but over time, they begin to avoid it. Not because they don't care about you, but because constant negativity drains energy. And slowly, without realizing it, you start losing support. You feel misunderstood, you feel alone. And that loneliness gives you another reason to complain. Complaining doesn't just affect your mood, it affects your identity. When you complain repeatedly, you start seeing yourself as a victim of life. And a victim mindset is dangerous because it removes your sense of control. You begin to believe that life happens to you, not because of you. And when you believe you have no control, you stop trying to change anything. This is why complaining creates more problems. Not because life is punishing you, but because your mindset is limiting you. When you complain, you also send a message to your subconscious. This situation is bigger than me. And your subconscious accepts that message. It lowers your confidence. It reduces your resilience. It convinces you that escape is easier than effort. And over time, your tolerance for discomfort decreases. Now here's something important to understand. Expressing emotions is healthy. Suppressing emotions is harmful. But there is a huge difference between expressing and complaining. Expressing says, "This hurts and I want to heal." Complaining says, "This hurts and nothing can be done." One leads to growth, the other leads to stagnation. Complaining also distorts reality. When you talk about problems again and again, they start feeling permanent, even when they're temporary. A bad day starts feeling like a bad life. A mistake starts feeling like a failure. And slowly, you lose perspective. And life responds to perspective. When your perspective is narrow, life feels limited. When your perspective is wide, life feels manageable. But complaining narrows your vision. It traps you in the moment of pain and convinces you that this moment is everything. Another silent damage of complaining is that it steals gratitude. You can't feel grateful and complain at the same time. The moment you complain, you overlook what's working. You ignore what's stable. You forget what you've already overcome. And when gratitude disappears, contentment disappears with it. And contentment is not about having more. It's about appreciating enough. When gratitude leaves, dissatisfaction takes its place. And dissatisfaction attracts comparison. You start comparing your life with others. Their success feels unfair. Their happiness feels undeserved. And now, without realizing it, your complaint has turned into resentment. And resentment is poison. But the good news is this: complaining is a habit, and habits can be changed. The moment you pause before complaining, you regain control. The moment you ask yourself, "Can I change this?" your mindset shifts from victim to participant. If the answer is yes, take action. If the answer is no, accept it peacefully. Both are healthier than complaining. Life will always have challenges. That's not the problem. The problem is how long you hold on to them mentally. Complaining keeps pain alive longer than necessary. Acceptance and action allow healing. So the next time you feel like complaining, pause. Notice the urge. And then choose differently. Speak responsibility, speak patience, speak solutions. Not because everything is perfect, but because you don't want to create more suffering with your own words. Because what you focus on grows, And complaining focuses on what you don't want. If you truly want fewer problems in life, start by reducing how much you complain about them. Most people believe gratitude is just good manners. Saying thank you, being polite, smiling when something nice happens. But gratitude is far deeper than that. Gratitude is a mindset, and when it becomes a habit, it has the power to multiply what you have, internally first, and then externally. Gratitude begins with awareness. The ability to notice what is working instead of constantly focusing on what is missing, and what you focus on expands. When you focus on lack, you feel poor even when you have enough. When you focus on appreciation, you feel rich even when you have little. The mind cannot feel grateful and miserable at the same time. The moment gratitude enters, peace follows. Because gratitude shifts your attention from control to acceptance, from resistance to trust. It doesn't mean life is perfect. It means you are no longer fighting reality. Most suffering is not caused by problems. It is caused by comparison. You look at someone else's life and feel your life is incomplete. Gratitude breaks this habit. It reminds you of your own journey, your own progress, your own blessings. And when you stop comparing, you start breathing freely. Gratitude also changes how you interpret situations. Two people may experience the same event. One focuses on what went wrong, the other notices what went right. The event is the same, the experience is different. Gratitude gives meaning to experiences that would otherwise feel pointless. When you practice gratitude regularly, your mind becomes trained to look for positives automatically. Just like complaining trains the mind to look for problems, gratitude trains the mind to notice opportunities, and opportunities lead to growth. Gratitude also softens the heart. When you appreciate people, you treat them better. When you treat people better, relationships improve. When relationships improve, life becomes lighter. Many conflicts exist not because of hatred, but because of lack of appreciation. A simple, "I value you," can heal wounds that arguments never could. Gratitude strengthens emotional resilience. When life challenges you, gratitude reminds you of what you've already survived. It gives you perspective. It tells you, this is hard, but you've handled hard before. That reminder builds courage. People often ask, how can I be grateful when life is painful? The answer is simple, but not easy. You don't need to be grateful for pain. You need to be grateful for strength lessons, support, and growth that pain reveals. Gratitude doesn't deny pain, it balances it. Gratitude also improves your energy. When you appreciate what you have, you stop chasing happiness desperately. And desperation repels good things. Calm confidence attracts them. When you are content, your actions become grounded. You make better decisions. You move with clarity instead of fear. Life responds to that energy. Another powerful effect of gratitude is abundance mindset. When you believe you already have enough, you operate from generosity instead of scarcity. You share knowledge. You share kindness. You share effort. And when you give freely, life finds ways to give back, often unexpectedly. Gratitude doesn't mean settling. It means building from a place of fulfillment rather than frustration. You can want more while appreciating what you already have. In fact, appreciation is the strongest foundation for progress. People who are never grateful are never satisfied, and people who are never satisfied are never peaceful. Gratitude breaks that cycle. Gratitude also changes your relationship with time. You stop rushing. You stop feeling like life is slipping away. You start being present. And presence is where joy lives, not in the past, not in the future, in now. The most beautiful part about gratitude is that it costs nothing. No money, no status, no achievement, just attention. And yet, it gives you more than most external successes ever will. When gratitude becomes part of your daily thinking, life doesn't suddenly become perfect, but it becomes meaningful. And meaning makes everything easier to carry. So if you want more peace, practice gratitude. If you want better relationships, practice gratitude. If you want emotional strength, practice gratitude. Because gratitude multiplies what you have, not by adding more things, but by increasing the value of what's already there. Most people spend their entire lives trying to control how others speak to them, how others treat them, and how the world responds to them. But very few people ever stop to examine the voice that follows them everywhere, their own inner dialogue. That voice speaks in the silence. It comments on every action. It judges every mistake. And quietly, it shapes your confidence, your courage, and your capacity to grow. Your inner dialogue is the most influential conversation you will ever have. You can escape people. You can change places. But you cannot escape yourself. And the way you speak to yourself determines how safe, capable, and motivated you feel inside your own mind. Many people talk to themselves in a way they would never talk to anyone else. They insult themselves, they shame themselves, they replay mistakes again and again. They say things like, "I'm so stupid, I always mess things up, I'm not good enough." And then they wonder why they feel anxious, insecure, or stuck. Imagine if someone spoke to you like that every day, you would feel broken. Yet when you do it to yourself, you call it honesty. But that's not honesty. That's self-sabotage. Your inner dialogue doesn't just affect your emotions. It programs your behavior. When your self-talk is negative, your mind becomes defensive. You hesitate, you overthink, you avoid challenges, not because you can't handle them, but because your inner voice has already convinced you that failure is inevitable. When your inner dialogue is supportive, something shifts. You still feel fear, you still make mistakes, but you don't collapse under them. You recover faster, you try again, and resilience is built not by never failing, but by how you speak to yourself when you do. The tone of your inner voice matters more than the words themselves. A harsh tone creates pressure. A compassionate tone creates strength. Discipline grows best in an environment of encouragement, not abuse. This is why two people with the same talent can end up in completely different places. One has an inner voice that says, "You're learning, keep going." The other has an inner voice that says, "You're behind, you're not enough." One grows, the other shrinks. Your inner dialogue also decides how you interpret feedback. When someone corrects you, do you hear guidance or rejection? When someone succeeds around you, do you feel inspired or threatened? These reactions are not about the situation. They are about the story you tell yourself internally. If your inner voice is insecure, every comment feels like an attack. Every comparison feels personal, and life becomes exhausting. But when your inner voice is grounded and kind, you don't need constant validation. You don't collapse under criticism. You extract lessons without losing self-worth. Your inner dialogue shapes your identity over time. The words you repeat become beliefs. Beliefs become attitudes. Attitudes become actions. And actions become your life. This doesn't mean you should lie to yourself or avoid accountability. A healthy inner dialogue is honest, but constructive. It acknowledges mistakes without turning them into labels. It says, "That was a poor decision," not, "I am a poor person." There is a huge difference. One invites improvement, the other creates shame, and shame paralyzes. Your inner dialogue also affects your body. Negative self-talk increases stress. Stress weakens immunity, it drains energy, it clouds thinking. You may think your problem is lack of motivation, but often it's emotional exhaustion caused by constant self-criticism. When you change your inner dialogue, your energy returns. You feel lighter, more focused, more capable. Not because life became easy, but because your mind stopped being a battlefield. Changing your inner dialogue doesn't happen overnight. It requires awareness. You must first notice how you speak to yourself, especially in moments of failure, embarrassment, or delay. That's when your true inner voice reveals itself. And once you notice it, you interrupt it. You don't argue aggressively. You redirect gently. You replace harshness with clarity. You choose words that support